up, y'all? I'm Jay.
I'm Shani.
And we are Living Out of Bounds.
So in today's video, we are going to discuss 10 steps that you could take to move you closer to financial freedom.
And if you are new here, we would love for you to subscribe. On our channel, we talk about financial freedom, financial independence, normalizing risk-taking, and healthy mindsets.
Yes, all of the things that you need in order to elevate your way of life, as we are doing ourselves.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and hop right into it.
The first thing you want to do is figure out what your why is.
What that means is essentially determining why you want to begin this financial independence or financial freedom journey in the first place. And so when you begin to really figure out what your why is, this why is going to be the glue that helps you stay committed to the journey.
Step number 2 is determine how much debt you're in. And this would include any type of debt. This would be credit card debt. This would be car loan debt. This would be, if you have a mortgage, this would be your mortgage debt. This would be student loans if you have those. So anything that's a debt, that means anything that negatively would affect your net worth, you want to figure out how much you have in total, because you can't truly talk about moving towards financial freedom if you don't even know how much debt you're in. So it's very, very important at the beginning to figure out what do you owe and who do you owe it to.
Yeah, and that's very critical as we go into the third step. And the third step is to develop your target number.
Yes.
It's going to be really, you can't really develop a target number without understanding how much debt you're in.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have more than one target number. You can have a short-term target number and a long-term target number. For example, we have a short-term target number that we want for moving abroad, and then we have a long-term target number that we have for retiring early. So we understand the two target numbers that we have, and we understand the amount of debt that we have. So some debt we want paid off before we move abroad. Some will be with us long-term, but we want all of the debt paid off before we actually retire. That's what you will need to do before moving on to the next step.
Step number 4, you want to look for ways to decrease your monthly overhead or expenses. So that means you go through all of the expenses that you have in a month. You want to make sure that all of those expenses that you have are things that you need to pay. So for example, we went through our monthly expenses and we had $300 in subscriptions, y'all. That wasn't like, it wasn't all in one chunk. They were like a lot of different subscriptions that added up, and we never realized that it totaled about $300 until we actually looked at it and figured out which ones that we could actually get rid of because we were no longer using them.
It was just throwing money away.
Right, so, and you don't want to do that when you're moving towards financial freedom. It's very important. Like, when you're talking about figuring out how much debt you owe, you also want to make sure you're not willingly giving away money that could be going back into your pocket and be used towards something else. So go through those subscriptions, guys.
Some of the ways that we've been able to do that is just to eliminate our mortgage. So that was most people's mortgage or rent is a large part of their income. So that was one of the ways that we were able to decrease our expenses, was to decrease our
mortgage,
eliminate our mortgage or rent. Bay has found creative ways to decrease our grocery bill.
Yes, now we know that groceries are very expensive right now, but there are some creative things you can do that can help that money go a little further. In fact, we're going to do a video to help give you guys some insight on some things that you could do to help that grocery budget stretch a little further than it's usually stretching. So go through those expenses, because that's where you're going to figure out what extra money can you bring back into your financial pot so that you can redirect it somewhere else.
Yep, and so that leads us to number 5. So once you got a little bit more to add to the little pot. Now you want to find ways to increase your income. And so you may have a job, so you keep your job, but now you want to maybe find contract work, find side hustles.
Maybe you have a hobby that you know people appreciate.
I will give an example on how we were able to do that, even though we quit our traditional teaching jobs just because we needed to buy our time back for our business. we were able to still get another job that allowed us to have the time that we need. And so we have our regular salary jobs that still pulls in the same amount of money that we were making. We're also doing contract work. We're also have multiple streams of income coming in from our business.
Yes.
So those are just different ways that we've done it. I know some people have done it. I want to say like Average Journey, they did it with
they had like a real estate. Yeah.
So they did a lot of real estate, and they also, like when they said find creative ways, they ended up like they were selling wine,
like wine crates
and stuff,
repurposing
things. So repurposing is a really good one. Depop. We could do another video on that too.
There will be.
So I can go on and on about all of the different ways that you can increase your income. But needless to say, number 5 is increase your income.
Yeah. Big takeaway with that is multiple streams of income, right?
Yes.
You want to make sure you got more than one. And I know this is around the part of the video where people may be saying that's a little easier said than done. But really, guys, like, you are great at something. And so you just want to figure out what that thing is and determine how you can leverage that. Leverage the thing that you're good at and figure out how you can make a little extra cash from it. The goal is to have more than one stream of income so that you can start to accumulate more money to help you move closer to your financial goals.
Yep, and just before we go to number 6, it's important in general just to have more than one stream of income, because you don't ever want to be stuck with one income, because if you are just only reliant on your job to supply your everyday needs and then you lose that job, then what? So a lot of people find themselves in that situation and it's detrimental for them. And so again, find multiple streams of income.
Yes. So step number 6 in moving towards financial freedom would be create your financial plan. And so this would include 1, developing a budget. 2, figuring out how much money you can allocate towards investing. 3, how much money can you allocate towards paying off your debt. 4, how much money can you put towards your savings. And 5, how much money can you devote for miscellaneous things or paying yourself. So we got 5 magic things that are included in our financial plan, and the key is to figure out what kind of categories you need in your own financial plan. Sometimes when people hear the word budget, it makes them really nervous and it makes them feel like they are restricted, so they automatically reject it, and then they feel like budgets don't work. But that's just a myth, guys. Budgets do work. They just have to be tailored to fit your personal financial situation. You create the budget in a way that is comfortable for you. And if you don't know how to create a budget, reach out for help. Maybe get a financial coach. You know, I do offer financial coaching if that is something that you need. We could absolutely talk about your personal financial goals to get you moving in the right direction. But you want to figure out that financial plan, and having a budget is a huge part of it. Okay, so do not skip over that. Step number 7 is develop your investment strategy. So again, a lot of times people hear investment and they automatically get nervous. They feel like it's too complicated and they're like, no. But I promise you guys that investing is not a hard concept to understand if you figure out the strategy that works for you. That means that the way someone else invests may not necessarily work for you. It depends on your own risk tolerance. How much money are you comfortable putting into investments? Because you do need to leave it there for a substantial amount of time so that it can compound the gains. All of these things, if you don't know what they mean, I promise I will break them down in another video, guys, but try to follow me here. Your investment strategy is determining how much money you have monthly that you can consistently put towards building your investment portfolio. Maybe your portfolio consists of stocks, and maybe they have crypto, even though crypto is kind of taking a beating right now. But it could include crypto. Sorry, it's really raining hard in the background, as you can see. Wifey
it just came out of nowhere
towards the window. But yeah, so your portfolio should include investments that you are comfortable making, because that is what is going to allow you to consistently invest that money. And that's a game changer when you're talking about moving closer to your financial goals, because if you figured out a side hustle, right? Once you got your multiple streams of income down, now you want to figure out a way that you can put your money to work, and you do that through investments.
Yes.
So develop your investment strategy.
Yes, and so that leads us to number 8. Really, 7 and 8 are interchangeable. You can do these around the same time.
Yes.
But number 8 is developing your debt paying strategy. So in that budget that they gave you all in 6, you allocated a certain amount that you can pay towards debt. So for example, maybe you allocated $1,000 that you're going to put towards debt.
Yes.
Now, how are you going to break that $1,000 up?
Yeah.
When you're getting ready to pay your debt off? So one of the ways that we did before was the snowball method, and the snowball method is where you pay off the smallest amount of debt, and then you continue to get higher and higher and higher, hence the snowball method. The second way you can do it is the avalanche method, and that is really tackling the interest rates. So tackling the highest interest rate. And so once you tackle the highest interest rate, you go to the next highest and the next highest. And so we actually decided to shift to the avalanche method, just because when we looked at our debt, it would be better for us to really pay off the balances with that highest interest rate first. So that's what we decided to do.
Because you recoup more money in the long term when you kind of cut down on what has the highest interest rate, because that's how they are making their money. They make money off of the fees and the interest rates, and the higher the rate is, the more money they make off of you long term. And actually, they are counting on you thinking that you have all of this time to pay it off. That's why you want to aggressively pay it off in a shorter amount of time, because you decrease the amount of money that they are making off of you on that debt.
With that being said, so going back to that target number, really figuring out which debt you want to tackle is important, because some of the debt you realize you may have for a longer period, and you just gonna put that to the side, and it don't have to necessarily be in that aggressively paying off portion. You just continue to make your regular monthly payments, because that may go towards that second long-term goal that you have. And once you finish paying off all of this debt, you probably can begin to chunk the one that goes towards your other long-term goal.
Facts. So step number 9, have conversations with your kids. That means include them in your financial plan. Now guys, before you even say it, I get it, like they are kids and you are like, I'm the adult and I'm the one working and making the money. I don't have to explain. We don't mean it in that way. We're saying have regular conversations with your kids about your financial goals and the plans, so that they are aware of what you guys are doing as a unit, and so that they are learning these concepts at a young age. Our mindsets about money and our behaviors about money when we're younger play a huge role in how we relate and how we handle money when we get older as adults, right? So if kids are familiar with these concepts and they know what these things are at a young age, it helps them to develop positive money habits as they're getting older. It helps for when, you know, if they ask you for something and you're like, well, that's not in the budget right now, they know what that means even if they don't like it. Depending on the age of your kid, of course you want to gauge the conversation. You probably are not going to have this conversation with your 2-year-old because they have no idea what you're talking about.
And don't care.
But we're talking about, like, if you have kids that are a little older, have these conversations. We just recently had these conversations with our kids.
So we were talking about inflation and things like that, and they know that we have investments and things. So we were talking about, you know, the stocks are going down and the investments are going down, whatever. So one kid is like, oh, so we're running out of money?
Oh, and this is why you talk to your kids.
And so it's for those reasons that it's like, no, babe, we're not running out of money.
That's
like,
not what that means.
That's not what that means. These are long-term investments, so you are going to see some fluctuation in the prices. And so, yeah, really having those conversations with them. And also, just when I feel like within that same conversation, we did talk about just budget in general. What, like, this is our budget. This is what we're sticking to. And so, certain things that they may ask for, and if we say it's not in the budget, it's not because we're saying we're broke. Because our kids are guilty for that too. Oh, so we don't got the money because it's not in the budget. No, we have money. We just choose not to spend our money on that.
We're choosing not to. Yes.
So yeah, make a long story short, having those conversations with them is important. So now when we go and tell them, hey, we can't do X, Y, and Z because it's not in the budget. We can't buy you no Robux. It ain't in the budget. You got $5 a month. That's what you got.
That's your budget. So make it work.
Yeah.
And that moves us on to step number 10. You want to follow through and be consistent, guys.
Yes.
This is a very important step.
Yes, and really following through and being consistent really lines up with number 1. I feel like it is one of the most important ones because what helps you follow through is your why. So when you are having desires or wanting to step outside of your budget or do things that are not in alignment with where you're trying to go, that why will help you remain consistent.
Yeah.
And so, and like Bae said also in the podcast, to really remember, if you have trouble with being consistent, get an accountability partner.
Yes.
Get a coach, get someone to help you make sure. Again, she can help you with that.
I can.
But get someone that will help you, remain consistent and stick to your goals. Because what's the point of having them if you're not going to follow through? So yeah.
Big facts. That's like one of the biggest things that I do work with my clients on is just making sure that they are consistent and following through on the plan that we have collectively created for them. And it's very important to recognize that your financial journey is different from someone else's, and so you can't look at the time frame and how long it's taking you to reach your goals in comparison to someone else, because that could get you discouraged and cause you to veer away from your plan, and then that kills all of the things that you've been working for, right? And that's counterproductive. Just be consistent, guys, and don't get discouraged with the work that you've been doing. I promise if you continue to be consistent with that work, continue to hold yourself accountable, reach out for help, whether that be a coach, an accountability partner, someone else who is on that financial journey. Make sure you get in connection with those people so that you can move yourself closer to your financial goals. So we're just going to recap just to make sure we're all on the same page and you're clear on what those 10 steps to take to get to financial freedom are.
And so the first one is make sure you figure out your why.
Step number 2, determine how much debt that you owe.
And number 3 is determine the target number that you may have, whether that be with your FIRE number or another goal that you may have.
Yes, number 4, look for ways to decrease your monthly overhead or expenses. Same thing.
Number 5, increase that income, side hustles.
Side hustles. Number 6, create your financial plan. And in your financial plan, you want to, 1, develop a budget. 2, figure out how much you can move towards investing. 3, figure out how much you can use towards paying off debt. 4, figure out how much you can put aside for savings. And 5, figure out how much you can put aside to paying yourself or miscellaneous.
Number 7 is develop your investment strategy.
Number 8, figure out your debt paying strategy. Remember, snowball, avalanche, those 2 things.
And number 9, have that conversation with those children.
And step number 10, be consistent and follow through. Okay, guys?
Yes, so we are so excited about you beginning your journey. We've been on our journey for quite some time. We've made adjustments to some of the things that we've done, but at the end of the day, we've tried to make sure that we remain consistent in our journey, and so we want to encourage you to do the same. We thank you all so much for tuning into our video. Don't forget to hit that like button and leave us a comment if you have any suggestions or any questions about our journey or any questions about getting a financial coach. And so
yep, we can help you with that.
All right, guys.
Until next time.
We love y'all. Peace.